now 6:05. My name is Eric Bernstein. I'm an attorney at law. I'm general counsel to the Franklin Township Sewerage Authority. I am the temporary chairman for the reorganizational meeting of the Township of Franklin Sewerage Authority, called for February 5th, 2019 at 6 p.m. The first order of business is to swear in Brianna DeVoe as a full commissioner of the Sewage Authority. Ma'am, you going to stand and hold the Bible? You're just going to give it to me. Thank you. You got anyone you want to hold the Bible? You just want to hold it yourself.
Oh.
I'll hold it.
Mr. Tawari will be gracious enough to hold it for the camera so they get it.
All right. The other hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I state your name.
I, Brianna DeVoe,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of Commissioner
of Commissioner
of the Franklin Township Sewerage Authority
of the Franklin Township Sewerage Authority
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. Tawari, for filling in as the Bible handler. And you will pass that down to Ms. Roach. Okay.
Thank you.
With that, Ms. Roach, and now we have a sworn member. Could you take the roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Van Berenson,
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe,
Yes.
Mr. Tuari,
Here.
and Mr. Galtieri.
Here.
Will you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and will you remain standing subsequent to the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Galtieri, for a moment of silence for former Commissioner Paul Bennett, who left us much too soon. I know that you will all have something to say at the regular meeting. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May the Bennett family remain in our thoughts and prayers. As I said, this is a duly constituted meeting of the reorganization for the Franklin Township Sewage Authority. And the new possible chairman is here. The first order of business is nominations for the chair for the year 2019 to 2020 to the reorganization meeting in February 2020. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Will Galtieri.
I second it.
Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Roach, can we take the roll call for William Galtieri for chairman of the Franklin Township Sewerage Authority?
Mr. Van Berenson,
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe,
Yes.
Mr. Tuari,
Yes.
and Mr. Galtieri.
Yes.
With that, Mr. Galtieri, it is yours. I'd also like to state for the record that we are a duly authorized meeting in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975. An adequate notice has been given to the Courier News, posting the agenda in the public lobby 48 hours prior to the meeting, delivery to the township clerk prior to the meeting, and the mailing notice accordingly, which we will read again at the 6:30 meeting. With that, Mr. Chairman, it's all yours. Thank you. Step on anything. Come on.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is the nominations for chairperson. Given that Mr. Jallo is not here and the sudden departure of, I guess, former vice chair, Mr. Bennett, I would ask if we could postpone this just for a month of filling the seat, and then when Mr. Jallo is back, we would fulfill this then. Is there anything that we need to do to?
No.
Okay. All right, so a nomination for secretary treasurer. So, Mr. Tawari, I would like to nominate you for the secretary treasurer position.
Thank you. Second.
Are there any other nominations for this position? Seeing none, is there a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
Now roll call for the position, since you've made the motion to close the nominations.
Isn't that what it? Oh. All right. Roll call for the position, please. Sorry.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay. For nomination for assistant secretary treasurer, Mr. Embarrasson, would you serve as the?
Sure.
Okay. So I nominate Mr. Embarrasson.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for assistant secretary treasurer? Seeing none, is there a motion to close nominations?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, how can I do this properly this time?
All in favor?
All in favor of closing nominations? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Can we do a roll call, please?
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay. Next on is there a motion to appoint our consulting engineer, CME Associates?
So moved.
Second?
We can just do roll call, correct?
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wasn't there a desire, however, that Mr. McClellan now serve instead of Mr. Janine?
All right, next, who offers the resolution for the appointment of our auditor, Hudlick and Morrison, PA?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. All right, I know this is going to be a tough one, but who offers the resolution for the appointment of general counsel as Eric M. Bernstein and Associates, LLC?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
Thank you all again for the appointment.
I almost want to ask is there a choice?
Glad to have you back in the party.
Okay, who offers the resolution for the to make the official depository TD Bank? Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay. Who offers? So this is the signatures for the chairperson, secretary,
No,
treasurer.
petty cash fund.
I'm sorry, what?
Petty cash fund.
Okay, so this is the petty
TD
cash form for
TD Bank.
for TD Bank, chairperson, secretary, treasurer, executive director, and acting executive director. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Is there a motion to make the official newspaper the Courier News?
So moved.
Okay.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ann Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
We have the signatures done as well, is that taken care of? The signatures, the authorization signatures?
I got new cards.
Okay.
Picked up.
All right.
Who authors, or is there a motion to, for the resolution to reauthorize the petty cash fund?
Motion?
Second?
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ambarenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay, is there a motion for the resolution to reappoint, for the reappointment of April L. Roach as the QPA, the qualified purchasing agent?
So moved?
Second?
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ambarenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay, is there a motion for the reappointment of April L. Roach as the PACO, the Public Agency Compliance Officer?
Motion?
Second?
Mr. Ambarenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay, appointment of committees.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Prior to, so just for clarity, all right, the TD Bank is actually the official depository. We talked later about the petty cash being authorized under Resolution 16, but Resolution 13 was for the official depository.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Let
your
the
clarity.
record reflect Commissioner Ford has arrived at 6:17.
Do we have any, okay, so negotiation and personnel, I guess for that one, typically it's the chair and the vice chair unless there's somebody that wants to serve on this committee. So we could, so I can put my name there and then we can fill that at the next meeting. Municipal liaison, Mr. Tuari, you said you would serve again?
Yes.
Okay. Construction, Mr. Tuari, would you mind staying on that one?
Yes.
And is there another volunteer who would like to be on the construction committee? Okay.
If you want, sir.
Well, we typically have 2 people on the committee.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Mr. Harrison, you'll, okay. For safety, Mr. Bo, will you take that one?
Yes.
And for now, I'll take that one, and then I can talk to Mr. Jallo when he returns. See if he wants any of them.
He's going to come back in mid-January, no?
He had other family, more happened while he was over there.
Oh,
so. Okay. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public comment?
Motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor for opening the meeting for public comment, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Seeing no public here, is there a motion to close the meeting for public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the meeting for public comment, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion. Second.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the meeting for, no, for motion to adjourn the meeting? All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Time to be on 6:18.
Yeah, that's the adjournment of the reorganization meeting. We'll be back at 6:30 or so for the regular meeting.
All right. Call to order at 6:34. Can we do roll call, please?
Mr. Ambarenson?
Here.
Ms. DeVoe?
Here.
Ms. Ford? Here. Mr. Tuari?
Here.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Here. All right. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Followed by, we'll be doing a moment of silence for Mr. Commissioner. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for all of you that that know that at the last meeting, Commissioner Bennett was not present. Unfortunately, a week after he he was ill and passed away. So if we could take a moment of silence to remember him and his family. Thank you. All right, very much. All right. In accordance with the provision of Chapter 231, New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the giving of notice to the Courier News, and posting the agenda in the public lobby of this building 48 hours prior to this meeting. Delivery of this notice to the Franklin Township Clerk at least 48 hours prior to this meeting, and mailing notice to those persons properly requesting to be mailed notification of meetings at least 48 hours prior to this meeting. All right. Is there a motion to open this meeting for public comments?
Motion.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor of opening the meeting for public comment, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the meeting is open for public comments. Seeing no public here, is there a motion to close the meeting for public comments?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of closing the meeting for public comments, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Did everybody get a chance to look over the meeting minutes from the working session from January 2nd? Give away a moment to review them one at a time. Any concerns, changes needed, questions, clarifications? All right, is there a motion to accept the working session monthly board meeting minutes from January 2nd, 2019?
Motion.
Second?
All right, roll call, right?
Mr. Van Berenson,
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tuari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. Okay, executive session meeting minutes. Are these in our packets or?
No.
Okay.
Everything happened.
I'll pass and I'll carry this to the end of the meeting, after the executive session.
Okay, so we'll go circle back to that. Okay, moving along to the executive summary professional reports. Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to offer my condolences on behalf of the Sewage Authority to the Bennett family. Unfortunately, I was away, I was out of town that week and was not able to make any services. However, April arranged to have flowers sent to the, as part of it from the Sewage Authority. I didn't really know Paul all that well, I just met him, a few times here working with him. Again, just my condolences to his family and to his, for passing. All right, so we'll start with the legal issues. Nothing major at the moment. We will have an executive session, and we will cover a couple items in executive session. So we'll move on to Marcy Street. So Marcy Street, the sewer rehab. So if the color remains yellow, I probably actually could have flipped this to green because of some analysis done since our last meeting. But basically, we're still early, that we don't have an authorization to advertise yet. But where I reported last month was, hey, trying to figure out how to come up with the money for it. We talked about the range, the cost estimates being $3 million to $5.5. I have 3 in the North Track Fund. Was looking to get another $1 million access from unreserved or unrestricted cash. But I also mentioned that I was going to meet with April and Joe to review some of the Rodney Avenue expenditures. That there were 2 loans for Rodney Avenue. One, a loan B, which was the substantial amount of the loan taken for the 14.4 plus expenditures. That loan amount actually that we took was for $13,353,000 and change. But there was a second loan, Loan A, that was authorized early in the process, obviously years before I came to the seat, there was nothing ever charged to the loan, allocated to it. So met with Joe in April to go over our costs, and it ends up that we have approximately a little over $2.7 million, 2.7 almost, 2.758. So with the areas that we can allocate the money for some soft costs for our engineering and for planning and design, we actually will have expenditures such that we will be able to reimburse ourselves for that 2.758 that was spent, because that came out of cash. You all, over the years previously, had approved those expenditures, and that drew down on our cash account. So my plan right now is to continue this process, work to get the invoices submitted against this loan, so that way we will get reimbursed in cash, and then have that as the option for the remainder of the cash. So it actually worked out. When I started the process, I was hoping to get $1 million out of that, but it ended up that there's a slightly over $2.7 million. So that really covers the Marcy Avenue structure. Now, I do want to meet with Northwestern Financials to run the analysis of, because we need to draw down on that North Track fund. So that's $3 million for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now the options become, do we use the cash, or do we finance the other portion? So, and the tool that we'll be using, that Northwest Financial will be demoing to me, will help run those what-if analysis. So I should be able to come back at the March meeting and be able to give the board more direction as to how we will proceed. But fundamentally, the good news is that we were, because that loan was never used, Ronnie, we can draw back and we can actually get reimbursed for that amount of money that will now cover the Marcy Avenue.
How, my only question is, how soon I know we're still in the early stages, but how soon what's our tentative timeline for when we would want to be, this time I know it's shovels in the ground. So when do we want to be trying to work on this? Like sooner rather than later, right?
I would say late spring would be when we'd be able to advertise.
Okay. So this year though, we're still looking at, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because one of the reasons I ask is I know PSE&G is still digging around over there. So I would ask, since you sent your list of roads, I'd have the town watch and make sure that they're not gonna, because they have to clean stuff up, that they're not gonna put down pavement where we have to go dig up. So okay, so it's not like we're looking at another year or 2 years before.
No.
It's sometime this year we're looking to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so in summary, we'll come back to you next meeting with more direction on the approach on how to use the funds, or how to finance that project. Foxwood Drive rehab, the color is green. Actually, it went from yellow to green. If you recall, last month we were talking about there was a lot of infiltration. I read off to you about the amount of rain that we gotten in November and December, and both actuals were more than double the amount of average. And then we had an issue with, ended up that the township had a water main break that was significant enough that it was a major contributor to the infiltration that we were seeing. So we worked with the town, and they've repaired that, and that made a significant reduction. So we're back to where we're doing that work, and we're 94%, so probably a little more now, done with the CIPP lining, the sewer main lines. LCRs were done about 31%, and the grouting has resumed. It was delayed because actually after the water main fix, we went into that freeze where actually the work couldn't be done, right? The boiler trucks were not gonna, the amount of effort to get it to heat up. So we actually, I think we were paused about a week, if not a week and a half, in that time frame because of the deep polar vortex that we experienced. So, but all is good. I was actually out there today. They're working, they had 3 crews. They'll have 2 crews over the next week. And, we're on target for our March 31st complete date. Why isn't that there?
It's at the bottom.
So also I have, as part of our resolutions tonight, is the approval for payment number, pay app number 5 for a little over, $203,000 and $483.48. So that's the summary on, good news on phosphate relative to where we were at the end of December and January kind of, was a little concerning, but knew eventually would turn the corner, and it did. So Hamilton Street, here the color is green. So we did receive the approval from the Union Soil Conservation District.
Brian,
Yes,
can I go back to
Sure.
March Street
sure.
just for a second? I'm just trying to understand this. So the original cost estimate was $3 million?
So we have a number of options that cost estimates would range from 3 million to a 5.5 million. And basically, the way the options is the scenarios play out, it's about the phasing in of how much work that we would do. So my approach has been, when I sat with Joe and Scott, is to see the whole area, and instead of phasing it like do phase 1 this year and then a phase 2 in that whole area, it's very contiguous in the Marcy Street area. So my preference would be, assuming I could get the cash, we could get the financing, is to go in there once, do everything, and then get out, for a number of reasons, but one being the residents in that area. We know from our experience in Rodney that, staying in an area for 2 years becomes very tiresome to our residents. Just a lot of issues, obviously, patience and and so my approach here, and it seems like we can do it now. We can get all the work done in one shot, and that pushes us to, I believe it was a 5.2 mil, and I rounded up to 5.5, so in that range. So that's the approach. It's the same amount of work. It's just a matter of, do we phase it, or do we kind of skimp back, and not do some of the manhole lining or the replacement of sewer mains that we really need to do.
So I understood it wrong. I thought it increased from 3 million to 5.5.
No, sorry for that.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And also, this that is one of our older neighborhoods.
Yes, so we know that there's Orangeburg pipe over there. In fact, if you recall, we had a failure, right? In December, we were out there, and I saw the Orangeburg pipe. So it's amazing it's lasted this long.
It's what's it about the new stuff is what 50 year or about 50 year lifespan?
Life expectancy, yes.
So yeah, that would give us then about 50 years
Yeah.
for that portion of what we do.
And I'm pretty sure no one around this table would be here in 50 years. So Brianna might, but the rest of the people. Okay, so to Hamilton. So the Hamilton Street, so last month I actually incorrectly reported that we were issued the approval to advertise an interim financing. There was an email that I read that I misread, and that over the next day or two I was corrected. So we're still waiting for both of those. However, we're that much closer because basically the DEP was waiting for 3 sets of our plans and our specs. That's been sent either today or tomorrow.
Delivered tomorrow.
They're going to be delivered tomorrow, and then it's just a matter of a week or so, 2 weeks, where we'll get the approval once they get that. So we did inform them. We informed somebody of our schedule. I saw the memo.
Yes, that was a 30-day notice.
Right, the 30-day notice, which we said we plan to advertise to bid mid-February, right around February 12th or something. Anticipated bid opening March 19th, and the anticipated contract award of April 2nd. So we are still in the time frame that we were looking at. So, this is proceeding on target.
How long is this project supposed to take then for estimated project?
Roughly 12 months in construction.
All right, turning the page, turning over to Somerset Street. The color here is green. We're really on target for our end date of 3/31. Part of today's vouchers that you have to approve is payment application number 5 for $160,471.32. I'll assume that the typo is in there. So during this period, we're really, the pump station itself is there, it's all laid out. We were kind of delayed in the electrical end with the electrician, and then kind of got into a difference of technical opinion with the inspector. So there was some going back and forth, but that now has been resolved. So the electrician should be all wrapped up by 2/11, which is Monday, I believe, in that time frame, and then the rest of the project still proceeding on target. So again, color is green, and the other one issue that I mentioned here is that we are waiting confirmation from PSE&G regarding the electric pole installation. I believe I brought this up at our previous meeting, where the electric pole right, the closest to the power, has to be replaced. And we put in a work order with PSE&G, and we're just waiting for that date, right? So
Correct.
we haven't heard from that confirmation date, but we are hoping that it will be completed soon.
Yeah, we don't have any control over it.
Right.
It's
Right.
they'll do it when they're ready.
Yes. PSE&G will, they work on their schedule.
So Scott,
Yes, sir.
it sounds like 2 projects are gonna be done roughly 3/31. What are you guys gonna do with the extras?
No, we got work for them. Okay, so that's it with Summer Street Pump Station. At the December meeting, you all gave me the approval to go ahead with the East Millstone concept, where we need to have that pump station kind of upgraded. So that work is being done by Howard and his team at CDS Smith. Howard has submitted me a conceptual design document that is within the boundaries of what you approved me. 30 grand, it came in at 27.5. So I've authorized Howard, I gave him a notice to proceed. And then by the time next month, we'll have a detailed schedule for that. But in doing that, Howard and Scott met twice, once at the pump station or twice at the pump station, right?
I think one's at the station and then
Yeah.
via phone and email.
Right, a couple other times to go over the work, what needs to be done. So, and then I think I had that included with the packet, right, April?
Yes.
Yes. So you actually have a copy of the concept plan and the deliverables committed as part of that, which basically will be a high-level design document saying, here, this is what we can do, and then a more accurate cost estimate for the costs associated with that. All right, so those are all the projects at the moment. Again, sitting in pretty good position on each of these projects, which is good, because kind of as the timing comes out, as you have heard on this timeline, we'll be rolling off 2 projects and then rolling in Hamilton Pump Station and East Millstone, which is good. All right.
So one other question on
Sure.
Millstone. Given, I mean, Scott, you showed me that it's basically all outdoors and everything. And I know it's still early. How long do we expect that it would? Do we have a rough idea of how long it would take, or because we don't know the scope of work, we don't?
To do the rehabilitation,
Yeah.
I think it would take 12 months, probably.
No, maybe 3 to 6.
6 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we looking to try to do that this year? I mean, I believe we budgeted for.
So we have it in the budget for this. So ideally, if we get all that, yes, I would move forward
Okay.
on that, and ideally have that pump station enclosed for the next winter. You know, ideally, this would be the last winter that it's outside.
That's pretty much the last one that's outdoors. Then I mean, besides the small one in near Wildflower, right?
Well, yes. The controls and being outside.
Oh, that's that's
So
not
Wildflower is pretty much all the main controls are in the building.
right.
Okay.
So
But it's the one off of Grouser, I think. Isn't there?
that's down. That's in an enclosure too.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Enclosure, so,
Okay,
yeah.
so it'd be hopefully
last-
everything would be inside by next winter or shortly. Okay, thank
That's
you.
our goal.
All right, so I will move on to the next item, which is the executive director's report. So we'll go to the revenue. So again, here's just high level of documenting our sewer rents. We connected it slightly over 2.1 million for the month. The connection fees running low again at a little over 9,000, and the interest on inspections and miscellaneous and camp cover for a total deposit of 2,151,541, and then our fiscal to date numbers, and then the proposed budget. So right now we are on target. The only one that we're behind is the connection fee, and we'll see that in Scott's operation. In Scott operations, you'll actually hear the raw number, but we're slightly behind. I guess I should take out the adjective slightly, just leave it behind. All right, next is our statement of expenditures. So in the top right-hand corner, you see just based upon the timeline, we're at projected use would be 58%. So if you go down that column, again, the high runners, there are no new high runners. All the high runners we've discussed in the past, explaining why they were high. And the total number at the bottom, total right-hand number, is we're at 55% of expenditure. So again, trending where we expect to be in the budget cycle in our fiscal year. We're trending exactly pretty much where we want to be.
So I'm probably going to ask an obvious question. The 134% and 122%. Those are
Right.
high.
So
Okay.
if you recall that our bookkeeper went out on medical leave, so we had a temporary staff for 6 weeks. April, was it?
About 6 to 8.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks. So that's why that number is high. And then the one under it is really just the payment of the trustee fees. It's really just a timing thing. It's done quarterly, not monthly. So when you make that extra payment earlier in the year, you're ahead of percentage.
Okay.
All
right.
Again, some of the other ones, the Mission Alarms, the salvage boots, again, items pretty much we weren't originally planning for, but they were one-time shots that threw off the budget.
Brian, the MCUA charges, does that include the actual payment that we're making tonight also? That number, or does that?
No,
Okay.
it does not. No, this is for totals
Probably through January 30th.
to January 30. No, this is actually going to be expenditures through 12/31.
Okay.
Right.
So that number will
Right.
jump also.
So now, so I guess because I don't have it. So we did have, the chairman mentioned a payment this evening. It's for roughly 438 or 468,000. And it says delinquent. It's actually not delinquent. We make our payments to MCUA on an estimated bill. What they did at the end of the year is they trued up the actual charges to estimated, and they said, okay, your estimated was low. We want you to pay up the rest. So how come we're off 400? How come they were off 400? Well, it's actually not. If you recall, we switched over to Rodney, so we were full blown on Rodney, which took flow. We've basically been reducing adding 1 million gallons a day to MCUA while reducing that from New Brunswick. So though there's a big payment there because we were under, at the beginning of the year you wouldn't have known that. My guess is MCUA now, in fact I'm pretty sure, they've caught up with that and they know to bill our estimated payments based upon the flow that we've had for the last 6 months.
So the next month when we have this, we will have 468,000 added to the year-to-date expenditures, right? I understand that right?
In addition to
Right,
the monthly
yes, into
charge
that.
also.
And also, though not reflective here because we're still dealing with it, and I was gonna talk about it in my discussion item, but it's appropriate to do it here, is that's not just an addition, right? There's gonna be a reduction of the money we paid in New Brunswick. So it's not additional flow, it's really just I'm paying Peter instead of Paul.
Yes.
We are still in the midst of working with New Brunswick. We actually had a meeting. I had a meeting with them with Tom Valenti, the head of engineering over there. Scott was at that meeting in April, was he, right? The two of you,
And Christian.
right, and Christian. We met with them about 2 weeks ago. So Tom is fully accepting our data that says, here's our flows, here's MC Waste charging. You could see that effective this date, they're getting more. So they're just working through the logistics of how to get their billing department on the same page, so that way they're not billing at this old rate that they used to. So we are in the midst of that, and again, that will be a significant underpayment there. So in the end, it will even out.
And that leaves us with what, 2 connections to New Brunswick?
Yes.
Well, once Hamilton and Somerset Street are complete.
Okay, so how many do we have currently still? Just
5?
5? Okay, so it's 5, we'll reduce down to 2 once Hamilton. Okay.
Okay, so that's on the expenditures. I'm going to move on to the cash balances. Again, you can, review, kind of think of it as TD Bank is our checking account. We pay all our bills out of there, and that's our, it's where all the heavy duty lifting and whatnot is done. Bank of New York, think is the savings account. And then you see the unrestricted, restricted, and designated accounts. So we're in solid shape here.
So just an academic question. Do we get any interest on these fund
Yes.
balances?
Yes, so all the accounts have an interest. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that is, but
Like
I can get.
1% probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be at a typical,
Bank, money
bank
market
rate,
rate,
yeah.
0.01% or
Right.
something like that. Has anybody looked at we have
yes.
millions of dollars?
Yeah, so we're limited by ordinance, state ordinance. It's a very good question. But we're limited by state ordinances as to where we can put funds into what type of accounts. I've actually had the discussion with our attorney and with our auditor. So we're kind of, this is the best that we can do.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, that was one of my first questions, like, really? But for the safety of our residents and the fiscal responsibility we have, it is conservative, understandably. All right, so that was the revenue, expense, and cash position. All right, the first topic, we're going to move to executive session. I've already talked about the New Brunswick sewer charges and where we are with that. So over the past month to 6 weeks, we've done some billing system upgrades here, where we have we had a separate process where our metered clients, our industrial clients that are metered.
What are you reading it from?
My executive section, I have a couple of bullet items.
Executive Director's report?
Yeah, discussion items.
Yeah,
Just here.
okay, now I see. Okay.
Sorry.
So skip.
Yeah, it went a little smaller font than I typically
No, I got
do,
it,
so
I got it, thank you.
apologize for that.
Yeah, that's all right.
So on our billing system upgrades, I've worked with, we worked with Harris to get a couple of feature upgrades. One of them had to do with the fact that we have 13 metered industrial clients that we were keeping track in a spreadsheet and billing separately, not being billed through our billing system. Our staff engineer was handling that. So what I wanted was like our billing system to handle all the billings. So we worked with Harris for a feature upgrade. They made the changes, and now we actually have all our bills are tracked through our billing system. So that's been put in place. We just had that software installed about a week ago. We're still doing a little testing, user testing on it, but it fundamentally has gone through the initial testing and looks good. So and I know that may seem a little odd saying that, but all our billing is handled through our billing system. Additionally, along with that, we are using our billing system to keep track of our connection fees. So our connection fees were kept separate in another Excel file, and it was tracked there. You may recall me talking about doing the analysis on North Track, so all that now is also, we've upgraded our billing system to be able to handle connection fees, and also when we get an impact fee, to be able to track it in the system. There will be some additional, we're still going to keep probably the spreadsheets done, just because we can do a little more what-if analysis on it for those that are stronger in Excel. But the primary master copy everything will be out of the billing system. Along with that, not directly tied to it, but along with that process, our permits, when we issued a permit, it was actually done in a notebook, in a composition notebook like you used to have in school, and we used to keep notes there. So that has been digitalized and put into a spreadsheet. At least for now, I'll take a look and see if there's another way to tie that into our financial system somehow. But at least now it's going to be kept in a spreadsheet instead of just in a book. But for clarity's sake, it's ongoing. I didn't tell them to go back and put all the permits from 2017 in their effective 2019. All the permits will be kept and tracked that way.
Who's doing this for us? Is there a company that's doing it?
So for the billing systems, that's Harris, but relative to the permit log, that was just internal in our own team, probably Vanessa. Christian did, okay.
Christian.
So Christian had taken care of that. The other item on discussion items, the last of the bullet items is, this month I will be working with Scott and April to produce our budget, specifically our capital budget, and then getting ready for our budget process. We actually have started it. We've gotten the draft worksheets from the state.
Should be a little
The
easier
state,
this
you
year,
may
right?
recall, is going online, but the authority, they're not doing it online for the authorities until following year, which is grateful, because the little that when I talked to them, like, I didn't want to be in that pool. It sounds like it's a mess. And you would end up at the last meeting having to revert to the old worksheets anyway. All right, so that was it on discussion items. Tonight's resolutions that you'll be voting on voting on for is from the payroll account, the operating expense, general fund, renewal, replacement, and North Track crossing. Additionally, there are resolutions we talked about last month, having the ability for me to authorize the prepayment of PSE&G invoices. And then also an item from about 4 months ago, we took an item that you will agree that the executive director could approve and authorize the hiring of union staff members and office staff for positions that are already included in the budget, but not including the administrative manager, the operation managers, or any other staffing position so designated by you. So that resolution has been is part of tonight's package. There was also a salary increase for our bookkeeper, and now
Brian, I'm sorry. Are those the only 3 positions? Because you're voting on it, that's why I have this question. Are those the only positions that are exempt, are not non-union?
So no, they're not. So our office staff is non-union. So our bookkeeper, our billing staff, and our administrative. So basically, those are the ones that you're giving me authorization that if we have it in the budget and we say we're going to replace them, that I can hire them without having to go back and ask approval after you've already approved the budget for them. But we left that discussion that night with, okay, but for someone's position, like April's positions or Scott, that the board would be able to have more direct involvement in the hiring of those positions. Or, as it says here, the caveat, or any other designation any other staffing designation you so decide. But this gives me the leeway of, when Scott hires a laborer or a maintenance staff person,
Yeah.
and it's in the budget that we can just do this quicker.
Yeah, when we had this meeting first, when we had this discussion first, I'm all for it. I'm just trying to understand. So there's nobody on Scott's staff that's non-union?
Correct. Staff's team is completely
All union.
Completely union.
All right, thank you.
The contracts due 2020?
Mhm.
Contracts next year, because we did it 2017.
So I have a question on the bills. So I just paid my bill for the
Thank you.
sewerage at that.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I got tagged with a late fee because I missed it.
So my question is, I think many bills I pay when you use the ACH method, there's no charge. I think we charge a fee for ACH.
So the third party vendor,
Mhm.
I charges $3.95, right?
For the ACH.
It's not. Doesn't come
Right,
to us.
I
It's a
figured that. I
pass-through.
figured that. Yeah.
And it was negotiated as part of when the contract came in that's their fee they charge. All right. I do all my bill payment through my bank. Right? My bank happens to be
Yeah.
Wells Fargo, but I have it that way. So because I have gotten a number of calls since I've been here
Mhm.
about that $3.95 charge.
Right. I
That folks
really
are not
hate
happy
that. I
about.
hate that.
And so I generally suggest to them that if you're that good with technology, then just go to your bank and schedule it as a quarterly payment. So that way you bypass the $3.95. I have attempted once to see if there's any movement in that, and I was quite quickly.
that's part of the billing system.
Yes.
The collection billing. And
So it's part of the credit card payment, right? Separate from our billing system. Right?
The process.
Right. It's the processing.
I'm not talking about the credit card. I'm talking about the net banking.
On the what?
The net banking, the direct. I can put my routing number and the bank account number. They directly withdraw from my bank account without the credit card. I'm not talking about the credit card.
Oh,
fees.
but is it? So actually, I've never used it. So
I think there's a fee there, right?
right. So, but it's the same
250 or
company
something.
that does it. Whether you're using a direct deduction from your checking account or you're paying by credit.
Yeah,
card.
it's lower. It's
Right.
lower for the checking account, but that's usually free. So that's my point.
Yes.
I think we should. It irritates me whenever other organizations charge.
I fully understand.
Yeah.
Yes. The only time I pay that fee is when I do my DMV registration, because I usually wait too long and
They
then I don't
stopped
want to
that this year also, so that's why it's frustrating. Like, I didn't see a credit card surcharge this year, when I just did mine. So,
Oh, okay.
no, I know, that's why it's, okay.
Yeah,
well,
and
we can look at this.
Yeah, I think we.
And that vendor, I guess I get where they're coming from, right? The amount of money they're making per transaction for an authority like us is a lot more than DMV, right? So that's why DMV was $2, we're $3.95. They're right. They have an X amount that they want from it.
I think there are cheaper gateways and processes available. I think we should look
Yep.
at that.
All right. So now we're
No, I know you were trying out also to see about the annual issue. So you've prepaid the authority for the next 3 to 5 years.
So there was a policy from the previous executive director that said they didn't want anybody to have an account that would have a credit more of $5. There was nothing in the system that stopped that. It was just kind of a set policy. So that caused some problems with some of our ratepayers because they would end up paying a little more, and if they went over the $5 balance, the check was returned to them, and then potentially when they did that, there was potentially a penalty applied because they didn't make their payment. So this was brought to my attention about 2 weeks ago through a complaint. I have since removed that policy of not allowing a credit, but putting in a guideline of not more than a year. Like so, in 2019, you can pay 2019 and ahead on 2020, but you can't pay out 4 years. I think the practicality of that is obviously rates change, then it becomes a little more bookkeeping to keep track of that. So, so I took that and have spoken to the two residents that, to the two ratepayers that caused significant frustration to set that straight, and then also reverse some of the penalties that was applied to that. It was an amount, the one was $2.97 over a period of a year and a half. So, and I understand it's not the money. That would frustrate me too also. I would be calling if I sent you in a check, you send it back to me, and then because I missed my payment, you then charge me interest. So it was the right thing to do.
So I was asking if you tested the annual also to see if there's a way to pay the entire bill at once now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that has actually always been in place, but I actually have that also has gotten escalated to me, and I have to play with that a little more to see if the scenario the gentleman explained to me actually played out.
So we appreciate you prepaying your sewer bill, Mr. Executive Director, for the next several years. Just remember, you can only keep 1 year on the books. The rest we'll always take as a donation. All right, all joking aside.
Well, for the 30th, I won't have to worry about paying any such fee. Because not because of anything else, because I'm moving to an apartment. Just so we be clear. I don't really think that I was getting a rate. It becomes part of a rent payment now. Okay, so we're on item D.
Additional items, yeah.
On the additional. So last month or 2 months ago, I gave to you a development agreement for your review that highlighted some changes. In the fact, one significant change was, hey, as part of a development agreement now, if a developer puts in 30 some odd homes and they have a pump station they're building, and they deed that pump station to us, the authority in essence was eating the maintenance on that. Like, they could just do that. What this development agreement had in it that I've asked for your approval of is to consider a maintenance bond such that they would pay an X amount of dollars up front. I would like to have that on, I know that you've got that, I think, back in December or maybe November. I'd like to have that finalized going into the March meeting, so if you could kind of just take an item for yourself to review that, and we just have to make sure Teresa, Commissioner Ford, has a copy of that, because she wasn't on the board when we first did that. So that way she has time to review that. Commissioner Brianna, I think you were here already.
Yeah.
So I would like to move forward on that for the March. Now, having said that, what I have in front of you tonight is our rate rules and regulations have been updated. So you have in the packet, you should have something like a cover letter and something that says Appendix B, Schedule of Rate Changes. All right. What happened in August was that Public Law Chapter 25. Public Law 2018 Chapter 74 changed. Right. It was changed at the date, and it basically had 3 changes in it. It said connection fees if it's affordable housing. Connection fees for affordable housing units would be charged half the rate. If you were having some alteration done to a facility that if it resulted in increased user fees, you could potentially add in a connection fee. And then the second one was. I gotta go to one of the footnotes, sorry. On the bottom of page B4, in tiny little font, it explains the 3 reasons. The first one is the authority, the connection fee reduction for affordable housing, connection fee credits for sanitary sewer capping, and then the connection fee for additions or alterations. So we had to look at that, and we had to make changes, and these changes went through Eric. and make those changes in our rate rules and regulations. Those are the only changes in this document, which really fundamentally is to bring us up to meet the law. So I know you generally, I'd like to give you things to review, but what I'm asking for you tonight, giving the very narrow scope of the changes in this document and the fact that Eric has approved these, I would like you to vote on the resolution that's included in your packet for these changes tonight. Fundamentally, all we've done is we've added footnotes to the headings. So on B4, you see Class 1 dwellings. Well, whatever footnotes apply to it, we highlight it there. Class 2 is affected by footnote 2 and 3. And then B5, public buildings and schools, is affected by 2 and 3. Class 4 is affected by 2 and 3, and commercial. There are some other minor changes relative to clarification, but truly just, fixing something that was not clear the last time. So I've asked, I asked for your approval for that time. If you, collectively believe that you need another month, it won't be the end of the world. I'd just want to get this caught up with the law as quickly as possible, because we actually had somebody come in who was aware of the changes relative to affordable housing, and we had to give them the credit per the law. Okay, so that is item number D. And then item number E is we have an agreement with McManaman for our to be designated as our bond counsel. All right. Moving on, so the chairman had asked me after he was at a meeting for some recommendations on kind of like a tutorial and kind of a 101 type setting for the commissioners. We're still looking at that, but in the meantime, the AEA produces a handbook, the New Jersey Environmental and Authorities and their boards. It is kind of a very high-level tutorial of your responsibilities. So I've asked, April has placed the order with the AEA for these, so that way next month when you come, you will have you will each get a copy of this, and at least, it's additional reading for you. There will be a test then in April on that.
You need a 1 or higher to pass.
Okay. All right, I talked to you. Yes, and you need its graduate level, so you need a B to pass. All right, so relative to number of 6 other items, I've talked to you about the development agreement, and then just a reminder that the AEA 2019 spring session is March 12th and 13th. If you have any plans at all of attending, please let April know so we can make your travel arrangements. And with that, as I said, we'll have a number of items in executive session to review. So, Mr. Chairman, if you have any other questions or you want any of the commissioners, please feel free. Otherwise, I return it back to you.
So the only thing I would say is for the connections, I forgot until tonight, I just sent you and Eric, I guess there's a piece in the piece of legislation at the assembly level about connection fees. Okay.
In addition to the one I just quoted tonight, the one from August?
4508 is it?
Yeah.
It's about I guess there's a time that if the person's paid connection fees and then it's vacant or something, and then there's remodeling or something, or renovations done, that you can't double charge a fee. I don't know if it's actually passed or not, so I just sent you the legislation link.
Okay. I'll take a look at it.
Yep. So that's it got sent to me, so I apologize for waiting till tonight.
No worries. That way, I didn't have to worry about having to talk about it tonight.
Exactly. See, it was.
Feel free to do that every time.
No. Yeah. So I don't know if it's even passed or not yet.
I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm
Yeah, the
looking at
last
my
one that passed
legislative
was this
person.
one in August. Howard, are you aware of anything? I know sometimes you're keyed in on that. Joe? No, okay.
Okay, so as I said, it was sent to me, so I've forwarded on to you the number. I don't even know if I gave you the.
It's in committee.
Okay. So we don't have to worry about it right now.
Yep.
Okay, operations report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the month of January of 2019, under our pump stations, during the month at our Brickstown pump station, we had to have 2 of our unit heaters for natural gas heaters repaired. We had an outside HVAC vendor come in and do that. They were for the control room, the main control room, as well as the dry well. They've been taken care of before the deep freeze came in. Under Rodney Avenue, our maintenance staff repaired the brackets for the bubbler level control system that go down at both wet well 1 and wet well 2. The screws had come loose and it was just floating. It was no longer attached to the wall. This was something we chose to fix ourselves instead of going through Carbro. They couldn't do it right the first time. I didn't think they could do it right the second time. As well as Rodney Avenue, we come across a couple of deficiencies that we did notify CME to go through our bond, our maintenance bond. One being the fence coming apart. That we found to be due to there's an extension. Basically, you have a pole with a welded base on it that's solid. You have a pole, you have a 2-foot extension on top. There's a seam. Well, the rainwater gets in that seam, filling up with water, and when it froze, it expanded, which blew the top 2 feet apart. But when it did that, it twisted everything, all the chain link, the line, everything. So the fence company was out last week. They attempted to make a repair. They didn't have a ladder tall enough. They didn't have a lot of things. So the repair that they did is not acceptable. Dave Coates from CME is already aware of it.
Okay.
All right. Some other things, we found a crack in the roof of the generator enclosure, which is allowing water to now leak into the generator room, as well as a light is filling up with water, so obviously it's leaking. So these items have all been addressed, sent to CME for scheduling for repair. Another one we did find was a leaky manhole. And in the terminology of PACP and MACP and LACP training that we had for CCTV inspections, it's called a gusher. That's when you have heavy flow leaking into a manhole, infiltrating into a manhole. So it needs to be addressed, it needs to be grouted.
It's not one of our infamous ones, is it?
No, this one's at the intersection of Rodney and Oak Brook. No, it's not that one.
Okay. All right. As far as the generator, is there a way to at least seal it up so it doesn't, so any rain doesn't get in there?
So where it's going into a track. It really can't harm anything.
Okay.
It's still,
No, right. It's still. I just want to make sure that the generator doesn't suddenly have water.
Fine.
Okay.
Generator's fine.
Okay.
School Avenue. As you guys know, during the Rodney Avenue project, we did add a brand new flow meter with some piping at the School Avenue pump station as part of that project. The totalizer had gone blank. We tried troubleshooting with the vendor over the phone, didn't work. He came out, hooked up to it with his computer. Come to find out, when we had the training initially, we weren't told that once the totalizer hits over 100 million, you have to reset the program. So we hit that, so he had to reset it, and he showed our guys, and we made sure we wrote it down, and now it's detailed on how we have to do it every time. So there was no charge, but
No. Okay. It's an interesting program.
we talked about East Millstone. We had gotten some pump information for CDM. That was pretty much just we took some effluent pressures on the piping for the pumps. Under odor control. During the month, Evoca was on site. They performed their monthly service of our odor and corrosion control system. We were able to reduce rates at several of our higher rate sites. They also performed extensive cleaning of 3 additional tanks. They were starting to get a little scum buildup, the tubing and the pump. So that was all cleaned out by their service as part of our contract with them that they do monthly. Under developer-related issues, During the month, our staff performed various inspections. Mainly this month, we performed sea hose for builders. Under collection system, under our 2-year gravity sewer flushing program, we successfully hit the 100% of that 2-year wide program. What that means is we completed Easton Avenue during the month of January, again before it got real cold. Worked out well. We went through the town's Nixle website, Nixle alert system, the police Facebook page, township page, and our own page, and didn't seem to have any problems.
No, thank you. I appreciate you guys doing the above and beyond to get the word out to the residents, especially
Sure.
in advance.
During the month, the guys flushed 57,562 feet of main sewer line. We also started this month the start of our new goal to start the town over again. So we hit about 3% of our goal of that. We performed industrial monitoring, which includes sampling and reading of both water meters and effluent meters for the quarterly billing cycle. That was performed by our staff. We did have an E1 grinder pump down in Griggstown at 25 Stockton Avenue fail. Our guys did a swap, gave them an operating unit, and made the repairs to the faulty one in our shop. It's now back in the rotation for use. During the month, we assisted the Board of Education on 2 separate blockage incidents. One was challenging, but we like challenges. The laterals that run through the hallways where there's cleanouts within the hallway floors, we had no other access to really help them. And they tried for about a day and a half snaking it, and they couldn't do it. So we went there, and we went there 7 o'clock in the morning before school started at 9, and we were able to jet it with our lateral hose and use a shop vac to suck up any waters that was coming out. Cleaned up, everything was done before 9 o'clock. The Board of Ed was very thankful. The other one was at Sampson G. Smith School, where we were able to assist them through an access manhole in the back of the property. During one of our wet weather I-9 inspections, we came across a failed lateral at 104 Van Cleef Road. What we found was the lateral was actually broken with a huge hole in it that was draining the property. It's like a field. We really had no way of measuring how much water was coming through there, but I'd have to venture to say anywhere from 10 to 15 gallons a minute. So contacted the owner of the property, provided them a video, explained to them why we're out there doing these types of inspections. They had their plumber come out and make the repair. We performed inspections of that with the plumbing department.
Sure.
So that was a good find. Under complaints, our crew responded to several complaints for slow draining sewers. In 2 cases, we were able to assist the residents from access cleanouts at the curb. Under safety, there were no accidents or injuries for the month of January. During the month of January, which we do annually, is we have all our fire extinguishers tested and inspected by an outside vendor. Some of them had to be replaced due to the age. We also had all of our overhead hoists at the pump stations had their annual OSHA inspection performed. We found they came across some minor repairs that over the past couple of years we were just told to monitor. This year it's more so on the pendants, the operating pendants, the grommets starting to crack and break down. So
Okay.
those parts have been ordered and they'll be scheduled for repair.
Mr. Chairman?
I
Oh,
appreciate.
you're done? I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say I appreciate the explanation because that might explain the other connection from the previous year on your connection somewhere here.
Yeah, right. So under connections, for the current months, we have 3.5. There's that half that you all love. Total to date is 37.5, and anticipated to date is 520. And as Mr. Chairman said, that half came from, as Brian had talked about as well too, the affordable housing unit at the address shown, 25A Marsh Swillow Way. So they get a 50% reduction because it's affordable housing to their connection fee, and that's how that half came into play.
So I'm wondering if that's the half we all talked about in the previous, if that had to come up like last year or something, but
Right.
maybe that's similar.
Could be.
So I do appreciate the note in there. Now we can Now we actually have an explanation why we have, it's not half a house that
It's
connects.
not me doing it.
All right, we can't make fun of God anymore.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So, Scott read about the cleaning that we do, the flushing,
Mhm.
the 2-year maintenance. At this point, it's important for you to understand, because I want to commend Scott and his team on this, because the time I have been at other sewage authorities or in these conferences, and this topic comes up, there are authorities that hope to have a plan to do it in 5 years. The best I've heard is 3. I have yet to hear another sewage authority commit to doing their cleaning on a 2-year rotation. Having said that, it's actually more because there are parts of our systems that are cleaned multiple times in a year. That doesn't account for this. So, we exceed the 2-year mark because of the amount of cleaning that we do in certain regular spots,
Yep.
because we know they're problematic. And what I can assure you of, the reason this is done and is an important aspect is because of Scott, our operation manager. He is committed to this discipline, to the maintenance that keeps this authority operating efficient. Because nothing gets out of his control where things are not maintained, and then we get into deep trouble because he doesn't allow it to get to that point. So I really do want to highlight that this has nothing to do about the executive director sitting in this chair. This is a program that Scott is committed to and will be for whoever, whenever anybody else is in this chair. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that.
No,
And I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian. I just want to say where we really see the results is in the after-hour call-ins or the homeowner complaints. So the guys doing their job out in the street cleaning the sewers, you're eliminating all those blockage calls, those stoppages, and stuff like that. And that's tribute to the work that they're doing daily as well.
absolutely. And I know you guys are also using the camera system to monitor.
Correct.
So it's not
So we
like.
thank you guys for providing that equipment that we asked for to do that stuff. So it's a team effort.
Yep, and it also helps maintain the system because we can say with confidence, for the overall confidence that we know the system's in good shape. We're not just saying that we think it's in good shape. We know it's overall, and we're trying to deal. And I know the crews are out there working to try to fix anything as they come up, like you said. So, excellent job. I know you guys had to brave the cold a little bit, and hopefully everybody was warm enough for. Was able to
So
stay
we try to
inside.
find extra items to deal with inside the buildings, the pump stations and so forth. Took care of some items around the facility here. So it all worked out.
Good. Okay. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
Committee reports. Nothing from negotiations and personnel, as far as I know. Municipal liaison. What?
Anything there? I didn't see anything.
No, there was one thing that I had thought of, but it wasn't. If I think of it, I'll try to bring it up again. But if not, if not, I'll just make it during my public comments next week also. But construction. Anything from the committees? No. Okay. So just as a reminder, if you're available I don't know, do you have any more construction or pre-construction meetings coming up anytime soon? Okay.
No.
All right. So just as a reminder, when we do start into the next round of projects, that if anybody's available.
Do we have any frequency of these construction meetings?
So I meet twice a month. Once I meet with the professionals to go over getting ready for this meeting, preparation. But then once a month I also meet with them plus our contractors. So I do have, I think it's the second Thursday of the month, I have a standing meeting where they come in face to face.
They come here?
Yes, and we go over the status, so an interim status, what I reported tonight. We'll go over the schedules. Then we address, what's working well for you, and then what's not working. And we do that at all levels. I have that question asked of Scott, of the professional engineers, and then also of
What
the
time do you
contractors.
have it?
I typically have it it's a Thursday afternoon, and the first one's at 1:30 and the second one's at 2:30, or they're right after each other.
No, what is the first one and the second one?
So I have it with, because we have two construction projects going on, two different contractors. So National Water Main is for the Foxwood, and then Grade Construction is for Somerset Pump Station. So
Okay.
I don't, because of the projects are kind of, they're totally independent. I don't have one group meeting.
If it
And
is
I'm also
standing,
conscious of
if
their
it is
time.
standing committee, then I would like to attend.
Oh, sure.
At least one of
Do a
them.
conference call.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's conference call or when
Sure.
present here or something. No.
Sure.
Yeah, I would like to do that. It's important.
One thing I did remember, one thing that I'd like to say, Scott, thank you. I did get feedback that I know you guys have been helping out with the jetter truck or the vac truck with
For
the
the town?
municipal. Yeah, for the town. So thank you for helping.
You're welcome.
Hopefully, well,
I believe I reported on that last
Yeah.
month. Yes.
yeah. So we're going into budget season now. So I know that if I'm not mistaken, they bought it at the same time as our old one. So and we've already replaced ours, if I'm not correct. So it's probably
Old one.
time. Yeah. So it's time. But thank you for continuing to help.
Ours is a little more well maintained.
No comment. I don't want to hear that. I heard nothing with that comment there.
But
all right.
which
so-
side do you have on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Scott. I'll have a fight with myself later on. All right. As far as safety, it looks like no incidents. So, and thank you for again. I know everybody. If they had to go out in the cold, they probably did. But as long as we could keep it for the most part, avoid it. It's not worth putting people at risk for that. So, good job with that. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda is next. I can read it. I got it. Okay. The approval of the resolutions will be done by consent agenda. All the items listed below are considered to be routine nature, thereby requiring one motion and 1 second for all items. If any member wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda or have any questions about an item on there, please advise me at this time which resolutions need to be handled separately, and we'll address and vote on them separately. We have payroll account of $171,239.78, operating expense account of $2,104,534.11, general fund of $184,423, renewal and replacement of $479,001.55, and North Track crossing of $1,407.25. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. M. Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. All right. Next for additional resolutions. Mr. Attorney, for number 3, did we have to serve a rice notice, or is it just
I did.
you did?
I
Okay.
did.
So,
But since he didn't go into executive session, it didn't matter.
what?
It didn't matter since he didn't go into executive
Okay.
session. The next resolution, Mr. Chairman, is a resolution authorizing the executive director of the authority to make prepayments to PSEG on behalf of the Franklin Township Sewerage Authority.
So this is so that we stop getting the
Yeah.
big red lines on the top of our invoices and threatening to turn off the power. All right. Is there a motion to accept the resolution authorizing prepayment of PSE&G and invoices?
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. M. Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
The next resolution, Mr. Chairman, is also to authorize the executive director to approve and authorize the hiring of staff for positions that are included in the approved budget on behalf of the authority, with the exceptions that he rendered in his report, and any other positions that you so desire.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
Motion.
Second?
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. M. Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
Next resolution, Mr. Chairman, is a salary increase for the bookkeeper effective January 18th, 2019.
Okay. Is there a motion on this resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. M. Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
The next resolution, Mr. Chairman, is the request by the executive director to amend the Appendix B of the rates, rules, and regulations for the sewage authority.
Okay. Is there a motion on this resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Van Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Ms. Ford? Yes. Mr. Tewari?
So,
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes.
And the last resolution, Mr. Chairman, is the appointment of McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman. Mr. Bauman, I'm sure will not select his name. Thank you. Attorneys at law serve as bond counsel. This is a memorialization of a contract that's a little overdue.
All right, is there a motion on this agreement?
Motion.
second.
Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Van Berenson?
Yes.
Ms. DeVoe?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Tewari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. All right, so it sounds like we have executive session. So is there a motion to open executive session?
To go into.
To go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
The issues we're going into are attorney-client privilege. Anything else?
Those are the items, I think they will fall under.
Potential, anticipated or potential litigation and negotiations other than collective bargaining.
Okay.
There may be formal action taken at the conclusion of the executive session.